Sobrang nakakagulat na balita. Grabe, Vice President Sara Duterte, nagulat i-impeach ng aba sa pwesto, ginulat si VP Sara ng Congress. Ayon sa nakalap nating impormasyon, matatanggal na nga ba si VP Sara sa pwesto? Matapos sabihin siya daw dapat ang President. Rumesbak tuloy kay VP Sara ang Kongreso, pwede na daw sila magpapirma sa impeachment. Pero ang talagang gumulat kay VP Sara sa pwesto ay pinigilan ni Pbbm ang impeachment. Tara panoorin natin.
So sir, Mr. Ma'am, just because President Marcos said that message, hindi ibig sabihin no na magi-slow down yung House of Representatives with its investigation on the Vice President as well as the past administration doon sa mga Quadcom hearings.
I think just to answer po, no, we have to make a distinction. Our Quadcom hearings and the good government hearings are not in any way related to impeachment. Although there are people who would have that opinion na yung lumalabas dito sa mga hearings ito would be a ground, that would be a separate thing. We have our different agenda for the different committees, and we are still pursuing the functions of the committee. Separate naman po yun. But if, however, some people would find basis to file any complaint based on what they found there, then that's something that would be a separate procedure altogether po.
In addition to that, I think what we're doing at the Quadcom is really to strengthen standards, no? How we can account public funds that are being spent, no? According to joint circular, kasi ngayon we're talking about the joint circular memorandum. So we're looking at that and to pass legislations. This is entirely in aid of legislation. So tama nga yung sinabi ni Kong Rog, this has nothing to do with a possible impeachment complaint.
I wouldn't call it a suggestion. Perhaps it's an advice, given his wisdom of what he sees in the situation. So, yun po. But I really don't think that is an order po, no? Because that's a different jurisdiction naman ng powers natin. Thank you.
Well, in addition to that, tama, re-echo yung statement mo ng mga kasamahan ko dito. Of course, we will respect the position of the President and we value his guidance, no? Pero sabi nga hindi yun directive, no? It's an appeal actually, if you look at it. If it's an appeal, so that speaks about again, the character of the President respecting the independence of the legislative, because if it's possible not to entertain, possibly not to entertain, actually the statement of the President was sedence respecting the independence of a co-equal branch.
Thank you.
Second question.
Okay, go ahead, Bibian.
You did mention na parang patuloy pa rin, tama ba, yung mga investigasyon ng Quadcom? I mean, yung investigations ng Quadcom and ng good government on the OVP confidential funds. But sa schedule this week, parang wala pa po ako nakitang schedule ng hearing this week, whereas in the past, parang every week may hearing.
Well, it also depends kasi on the availability of our resource persons. So once we schedule the Quadcom, once we schedule the next committee persons, kasi of course kailangan mong pag magkukwad ka, maghihiring ka, kailangan lahat ng tatanungin mong tanong at yung dapat na tanunging tao ay nandoon. So yung scheduling naman is, I guess, wala pa, it's not official, but we're looking at possibly this within the week. No? Magkakaroon po ng continuation of the hearing ng Quad.
Just to add lang po siguro, dahil lang po wala sa schedule doesn't mean hindi po tuloy. Like we mentioned, I think we're of the opinion, what we understand from what's happening sa Congress is that tuloy pa rin naman po yung ating mga hearings. It's just that as of now, although wala siya sa schedule, we have to take note under our rules, we have 3-day notice. So it could still happen. We have hearings from Mondays to Friday. So it could still be like either today or tomorrow you might receive the notice. But in addition to that, just what we've heard, I think one thing to also consider, although it's not a slowing down, it's Christmas season, mahirap na rin po. All of our congressmen also have to be in the district. They have to be in, hindi po tuloy.
25.
Morning po. Sir, regarding dun sa issue ng time constraint natin, kasi 9 session days na lang. Tapos according to SecGen, 10 days kung sakaling mag-file yung to act on the impeachment complaint. All in all, sabi niya, doon sa prosesong yon 130 days. So, papasok na tayo by February ng election session. Pero, based on our observation on the previous impeachment, like for example, the impeachment case of former President Joseph Estrada, may isang mode na pwedeng i-shortcut siya. Now, what you need only is to get the 1/3 signature of the member of the House of Representatives in order to para mabuo yung tinatawag na article of impeachment. May we know kung sa leadership, sa majority, aside from the statement coming from the President, sa agenda ba ng majority using the shortcut method?
Well, yung sa kay former president naman, that's a direct action taken by the House, no, previously. So ito kasi sinasabi nga namin, there's no advice. We don't actually discuss about impeachment, no. Parati yung namin sinasabi to, there's no official or there's no formal discussion or talks among the leadership, and even sa amin po, about a possible filing of the impeachment. Actually, ang naririnig po natin na may ready for filing yung kanilang complaint are yung mga ibang grupo po outside. But as far as the leadership is concerned, that is, to me, within 9 days, nung sinasabi ni Secgen, that cannot happen because it only possible if the House directly has taken action on the complaint, meaning if you have secured, I guess, a number of signatures of the House. That's the time.
Again, we aren't in any discussion of any specific process na or method na gagamitin because as emphasized, wala namang nagfa-file pa.
But just to answer lang po yung question, I think because it's theoretical. Yeah, there are the 3 modes po, no? And I think it would be correct to say that by the 3rd mode, if you're able to secure 1/3 signatures, it would go directly. So just to answer the question, if I understood it correctly, tama po, that would be a way siguro around it's not just magic po, yung 1/3 number of signatures, that's quite a lot, it's 100 plus. So kung meron man, there should be word about it right now, and unfortunately we don't. We've always now, we're hearing about complaints from private citizens, pero that's still outside pa po. So technically speaking, nothing has started, so we can't really speak about it.
Things other than being President of the Republic of the Philippines. So kindly, would you like to comment on that?
Then why didn't she run? If she had it in the bag, she should have. Dapat tumakbo siya. You know, I mean, 2025 na 20, di ba? Ngayon mo pa sasabihin yan. Di sana tumakbo siya. Tsaka yung presidency, dapat para sa kanya yun. Sorry. Kasi di ba, I mean, what was that statement for? Then she should have filed to be president, to run for president. But she didn't. She filed to run for vice president.
Would you also like to comment on this statement?
Ang ganda ng sinabi niya.
Yes. I think this is particularly for the House members. Huwag nila ako i-gaslight into saying na ako ang dahilan ng kaguluhan na ito. Ang kaguluhan na ito ay nagsimula sa terrorism nila, sa harassment nila, sa threats nila sa mga personnel of the Office of the Vice President. I mean, particularly about the Good Government Committee hearing po.
To put it quite frankly, hindi naman, of Congressman Valeriano, and in the course of those hearings, ang daming lumabas. Ang daming acknowledgement receipts, ang daming lumabas na ang dami. Hindi naman, di ba, kami, nagpapagod kami, nagpupuyat kami para silipin yung mga dokumento na yon, para isa-isahin. And ang dami naming nakikita. In fact, marami pa kaming nakita na hindi pa namin naitatanong. So, hindi siya terrorism on our part na we're terrorizing the OVP. Had they answered the questions from the very beginning, then sana tapos na sana yung mga hearings ngayon. Ang problema, they spent so much time not attending the hearings, and now that they are attending, di ba? So, kung sana nung umpisa pa lang, pumunta na sila, then sana tapos na, nasagot na sana nila. Yun lang. Uy, sumagot ka.
Well, ganito kasi Maria, no? We're actually promote what we're trying to exercise here is the mandate of this office. I mean the mandate of the legislature. The only way for us to really find out is to hold these inquiries, no? And to hold anybody accountable. Yun lang man talaga yung pinaka gusto natin mangyari in aid of legislation. Tama po yung sinabi ni Kong Pami na we are not pinpointing directed to the office which he occupies right now, which the Vice President occupies right now. Hindi naman ho natin kasalanan yun, di ba? Sabi nga ni Pami Tadhana, nagkataon po nang naging Vice President siya. So number one, the issue is there. There are so many questions that up to now have not fully answered. There are so many questions and the manner by which these confidential funds were spent. There are questionable ARs to a point that there was a deliberate refusal to attend, to a point of sa palagay ho namin sa committee it's an attempt to that can rectify these wrongs. So ganun lang po. I think we should focus on the issue and not to dwell on and to promote transparency.
Of TV5. I think the two quotes mentioned were interrelated in the sense na nadilis po yung issue. There, she's answering the issue by bringing up politics, yung presidency. But I think what we have to note here is that this issue goes way back po, no? Before the Good Government Committee and before people were talking about dahil po ito ay in relation to the presidency, whether 2022 or 2028, we had questions na po. And this started with no other than yung sa budget hearings natin, which was the question is really how the budget was, although it had its corresponding slash in the budget, it's not sufficient po. And kaya nga po pumasok yung good government. So to answer the issue by saying po that this is related pa man or if it's about the future presidency, we have to set it aside because what we're talking about here is yung accountability doon sa expenditure of the confidential funds. And it just goes to show, it goes back to that po, no? We've had this question during the budget, we've had it near the committee hearings, and we will continue to have it until we answer their questions during the budget. Baka tapos na po yung we wouldn't have had to come to that committee hearing. So I think that's where we're coming from. This is a mandate constitution, power of the purse, together with oversight. Yun lang naman po yung inatupag po namin dito. Yan lang. Thank you.
So medyo nakakapanibago kasi wala pa po sa calendar natin any good government or quad committee hearing. May effect po ba yung impact, yung message ni PBBM with that? May ceasefire ba?
Yung sa good government, we were supposed to meet Friday. I remember, ako yun, I actually called the chairman na nabanggit nga ng ating vice president na she was going to skip the NBI, yung patawag ng NBI, dahil kailangan niyang pumunta sa hearing. Actually, dapat nung Friday nag-hearing tayo. And then, for sure naman, within the day or tomorrow, maglalabas kami ng schedule.
Kasi in the first place, we're not in war with anybody. We are not doing this against anybody. We are actually doing our job. There's a question of accountability. There's the issue on upholding transparency in government affairs. Ito po ay mandato ng legislatura. Ito po ay binigay ng Constitution na dapat, hindi lang mandato, it's an obligation and responsibility. So I don't see why some people look at this as something na giyera. So to me, hindi ho ceasefire. We just do our job. We'll continue to do our job. And wala po kaming ginigera sino man o kanino man.
Well, again, in addition to that lang po siguro, Marian, no? Binanggit po earlier, it's related to an earlier question. And I think regardless po no, of ceasefire na sinasabi kung meron man, it's really a matter of consideration for the committee na baka po yung resource persons are still gathering, availability of the congressmen. We've seen as early as Friday last week, as according to Congresswoman Zamora, we were supposed to have a hearing. So tuloy-tuloy naman po talaga. It's just these considerations. But just parang sinasabi, intentional move to cause harm of sorts in parang gera. Like have always been calling, we've always been saying earlier, let's set aside politics po. We're just doing our job here. We're talking about transparency and accountability. So dun lang naman po yung issue natin. Whether or not the scheduling has a problem, I think that's separate naman po. But I do believe from our understanding, tuloy pa rin po yung Quadcom and good government.
Okay na, Ms. Marian?
Thank you, Marian.
Thank you. Melalis Moras from PTV4.
Speaking of ano lang po,
Speaking of good government hearing lang po, can I just ask yung ano po yung naging basis dun sa pag-release ng release order kay Attorney Zulaika Lopez and moving forward? Yung nung weekend, nung Sabado po kasi nag-release na yung House Committee on Good Government ng release order kay Attorney Zulaika Lopez. Paano po tayo nagang po natin dun sa order, and moving forward, yun po, nag-commit po ba si Attorney Zulaika sa committee na haharap pa rin siya sa mga susunod na pagdinig?
Ang alam ko kasi yung maximum na penalty for the contempt is actually 5 days. No, it was extended for 5 days. And number two, the consideration also is that yung medical condition ni Attorney Zulaika, she was admitted at the Veterans Medical Center, and prior to her yung pag-discharge sa kanya, I think Secretary General ang SAA communicated with the doctor, the physician attending Attorney Zulaika, and the decision of the committee was to release her based on the number of days that she was cited under contempt, no, for a detention. So yun po yung naging consideration. Remember, yung detention niya she was supposed to be transferred to correctional, but due to medical issues, the committee decided to allow her to be admitted at the Veterans Medical Center. But sinabi naman po niya, I guess yung sa sulat niya, sinabi na she will cooperate should the committee continue on hearing the case of the OVP, DepEd. OVP ba? And DepEd. Confidential funds. Nag-assure naman siya na she'll be attending the next committee hearings.
Opo. So next hearing, Kong Zia, expected natin na harap si Attorney Zulaika Lopez as well as yung apat na naka-firm.
Yes, if there's no medical problem or immediate medical attention that she might need, I guess there's no reason for her not to attend.
Sorry, baka lang po may info din kayo. Si Mark Taguba po ay pinayagan na ng Bureau of Corrections na manatili nga dito sa House. Ano po yung magiging process doon if we have info? Hanggang kailan po kaya dito siya dito mag-stay? And ano po ba yung process pagka convicted yung nasa mas mahigpit po ba yung security? Kung meron lang po tayong info about it.
Merong request for transfer. Yeah. Yes. Si Mark Taguba kasi during our last hearing, ito si George can also say something about the request. Si Mark Taguba kasi he's been receiving death threats, no? So he requested committee hearing that it would be, I guess, safer kasi yung pag-transport kasi ng mga resource persons requested. And then, pumayag naman po sila kasi it also happened to other resource persons. So, it would be more convenient and easier for us to request these resource persons anytime that should their attendance or their presence are needed in the Quadcom. So, yun lang po yung nag-request.
Hearing po yung
Alam ko until such time that the committee will file its committee report, determination of the Quadcom, and that's the time that Mark Taguba will also have to return back to where he is imprisoned.
Thank you po.
Hello, morning, Kongs. I'm Chino from GMA7. I'd just like to ask, while it's clear that yung work of the Quadcom and the other committees on investigating the alleged irregularities may or may not lead to safeguard against someone that might actually stymie the impeachment process by filing a defective complaint. May mga ganun ba kayong pag-uusap na, somebody just file a defective complaint and then it'll be barred for, I think, a year, pagkatapos nun, diba? So, is there safeguards or are there talks about that?
Sorry, sir. I won't be able to talk about safeguard. Well, for one, I don't think it's been discussed. If there have been discussions on safeguards regarding that issue, probably beyond our circles, kami po, we're just members here. But from a pending complaint for impeachment, in either of the three modes, I think if it is defective, the third mode would be eliminated right away because I don't think 1/3 of the House would vote on that and promote that. But for a defective impeachment complaint to have been filed and to be endorsed by a congressman or congresswoman in either of the that defective complaint, I think these two would still have to go through the Justice Committee, and I think that's where they would thresh out the defective complaint. But whether that would trigger the 1-year ban under the Constitution, I'm not too familiar. But I think that's the safeguard in the rules, is that it would be...
Sirs, ma'am. Kuha lang po kami ng reaction dun po sa hinihiling na investigation sa NBI ni Kong Barbers dun sa mga vloggers na yung organized vloggers na nagkakalat daw ng maling impormasyon. Kong J.
Just to start lang po siguro, I think we all here in the House, I can't speak for them, but I think we would be in support po of the call ni witness po kung anong nangyayari with these vloggers, and I think he also made mention of yung mga troll farms, and it seems to be a concerted effort po talaga. While freedom of speech is protected right under our Constitution, it has to be tempered rin po with responsible practice and use. And in fact, it is penalized under libel or slander. Well, libel mostly in relation to printed and published media. There's that safeguard. So I think what Chairman Barbers is asking for isn't anything new. It's that he is asking for assistance given the Congress and social media. You have questions of jurisdiction. You have questions of cyberspace, the issue of anonymity. Yun po yung nakakatakot po dito. We have congressmen and congresswomen who, whether or not it is related to their function, have been receiving threats. They have been receiving anonymous messages, either death threats or threats to their families. And it should be something that no one should be subjected to. Free speech is one thing, but to rely on character assassination is a totally different issue. And I think Chairman Barbas was just speaking up for and we are hoping that the DOJ would help us. Kasi po, if it is proven talaga that these sophisticated schemes are being employed to really target congressmen, congresswomen, not for their personal gain, but for that political purpose, then it must be something that should be acted on po talaga.
Opinions and position Kasi that's what democracy is all about. We have to enjoy, we have to celebrate the diverse opinions, yung diversity, because that's actually is fuel to keep democracy running. But unfortunately, in this kind of online landscape, we've seen troll farms, we've seen vloggers, hindi ko naman nila lahat, who are up for grabs. Sometimes they have been used by political propaganda to malign, discredit a certain perceived. It counters the very foundation of democracy, because how can you have a populace with informed decision kung ang binibigay mo sa kanila ay puro mali, fake, and disinformation? I guess this is a call for every one of us that in order for us to maintain a healthy communication space for everyone, dapat ho natin din magkaroon ng safeguards na hindi mahaluan ito ng propaganda, peking propaganda. Agree on facts. Unfortunately, naging subjective ang facts ngayon. Dahil dun yung karamihan po sa mga trolls, mga troll farms, dinidistort nila yung facts. So I guess that yun ang intention ni Congressman Chairman Barbers, that we can disagree, but at least let's agree on facts. And, yung magandang spasyo sa pakikipagtalakayan sa publiko.
Okay. Next question from Billy Vegas, Avanti Politico.
Mabulo ko lang po, meron pong sinabi si Sara. Sabi po niya, mas sure pa daw na dadalo siya doon sa hearing ng good government kaysa doon sa patawag ng NBI. Reaction lang.
We look forward to it.
I think, if you remember, meron po tayo sanang good government BI subpoena set on the same date. Because at the time that the cancellation, we found out po that the VP was using the good government committee as a reason po not to attend. And this would be the first, and bago pa lang yung issue of NBI, it might concern national security. Nag-give in layman's terms, nag-give way po yung committee. Ngunit hindi po nag-attend yung ating Vice President. So, again, we see it now. There is the commitment at least to attend good government, but she is giving the condition na baka hindi po sa NBI. I don't understand po siguro, di ko po naintindihan siguro kung bakit it would be. I hope that if there's anything, I hope yun po yung gawin po niya. Thank you.
Okay, last question.
Hingi lang po sana ng reaction doon sa sinabi ng some political analysts that the president will be seen as a weak leader if the impeachment for if VP Sara will not be subjected to impeachment po. If
To answer po, no. Of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that political analysts, if they believe impeachment is the only route to show strength, then we can't change that. But siguro po, ako personal opinion for this representation, impeachment is not the only avenue to exert kung ano man yung tama. As we've discussed prior, wala naman pong immunity ang Vice President. There are also possibilities for criminal accountability, criminal liability to be had through, yun nga po, and we've seen it. The PNP has filed cases, the DOJ, through the NBI started investigation. So it's not the only way to, exact accountability for those acts. But regarding impeachment po, that's a totally different matter also. And it would not come from the president. I don't know why it should reflect on the president, because the impeachment complaint should come from either a private citizen or that endorsed by the member of Congress. So if wala po mag-file, alis na yun.
Actually, dadagdagan ko lang, no. Kailangan po natin maintindihan na magkaiba po yung trabaho ng executive at saka legislative. If it's about the impeachment, possible impeachment complaint, it's entirely up to the po ng president. It's just his personal take on that. And that should not be taken as something that maybe as a gauge on how strong he is as a leader. I think he has so strong points naman eh. Kasi ang sinabi naman po niya doon, let's focus on nation building, let's focus on the problems. That's how he viewed that with yung lens and yung access niya po being the top executive official in the land. No, he's the #1 president. He's running the affairs of the government. When you talk about complaint of possible complaint, membership, individual members will look at the merits. No, balikan ko lang po yung kaninang tanong ni ng ating kaibigan,
Billy,
boss.
sir.
I think choosing between the two, it's not really a matter of choice. It's actually I think it's proper, and it's how a official respect the rule of law, and the demands of these cases filed before the NBI really a choice between which does he favor, and if we talk about transparency and accountability, it is demanded of her to put urgency on these two venues for her to really air her own position on the allegation that were thrown at her and her office. No, so
are you in favor of next Congress, sir?
Are you in favor of impeachment?
Impeachment.
Ikaw daw, Congress.
Kayo sir lahat.
wala pa naman pong hinahain na impeachment complaint. So I think it's preemptive na sumagot sa ganong mga katanungan. Kung meron na pong impeachment complaint, depende mo po sa substance, yung merits ng complaint na yon.
impeachment to a political exercise. It's whether you are for or against the person. But I hope we don't forget the fact that impeachment is based on grounds. This is not on personality. It is about the facts that attend the facts and circumstances surrounding po an alleged violation. So we're talking about graft and corruption. Rightly so, as mentioned by Congressman Adyong, kung wala pong inihain pa na complaint, how can we base po, no?
Ngayon, ikaw, bilang Pilipino, ano ang masasabi mo at reaksyon sa balitang ito? Mag-iwan ka ng komento sa ibaba at atin pong babasahin isa-isa.